Hi folks, so I'm here at the Musicians Union in Hollywood with Thomas Frank. He just did an interview with Bob Scheer. His new book is Listen Liberals, Whatever Happened to the Party of the People. So I've got some questions I want to ask him, and he's graciously given me 5 minutes. Okay, so you're just talking about your hair. You're going to go with Trump.
Yeah, if Trump wins, I'm going to buy a whole lot of hairspray and I'm going to do the Trump haircut.
Okay. Well, you were making some really interesting points that I wanted to follow up on. One, I have been saying all along that Trump is the symptom and Hillary is the disease. That when you combine the austerity resulting from neoliberalism with the migration coming from neoconservatism,
excuse me,
you end up with the right-wing governments in Europe, the Brexit vote, and the popularity of Trump. And I think that if you don't elect Trump, like you said, there's going to be a worse Trump coming along, and you continue these trends, there's going to be
a worse Trump, but a smarter Trump.
A smarter Trump who's not going to be self-sabotaging, who's going to have a filter. And so I'm really worried, like, people are saying that Hillary is the lesser of two evils, and I don't know if that's true. If you believe, like I do, that she's the cause of the rise of Trump. Do you want to speak to that?
Jesus Christ. I mean, what a scenario that is. Like, so we have to choose between the disease and the symptom? That's pretty bad. I don't know. I think that's too, I think it's more complicated than that. But it's massively complicated. I can't do that in 30 seconds.
All right, but I mean, it's just that there's so many people. Bob Scheer was talking about.
Let me put it this way. That there is Trump is the question this time around. Trump is the one that's the shock to the system. Trump is the one that is doing something that's totally unusual, that we've never seen before. And all I want to say is that as bad as this guy is, and he's pretty bad. I mean, I've made fun of him in 100 different ways. His followers have a legitimate grievance. They have, their lives are falling apart. And we have to understand that, and to just brush it off, to just dismiss them, is a recipe for disaster. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Well, let's talk about who is supposed to do that. Chris Hedges says that it's social movements. Bernie says that it's social movements. They are the ones that start things.
Right.
But listen, I was part of the Occupy movement, and then I went to lead Bernie Sanders' organization because I saw that Occupy, although we love to say we were a leader-full movement, not a leaderless movement, let's face it, we didn't have any leaders, we didn't have an electoral program, and while we changed the conversation and we set the stage for a Bernie Sanders candidacy, we need some electoral champion, and I'm afraid that Bernie Sanders was a once-in-a-lifetime guy because he had 40 years, he was authentic, consistent, and
that's right.
So
he's a great guy.
What do you see happening in the next 4 years to try to create some sort of challenger to her?
Oh shoot, it's tough because I just said there'll be another Trump, a smart Trump, and there'll also be another Bernie. But I don't think the next Bernie will have. It's very hard to unseat a sitting Democratic president, especially Hillary will be a hero. She will be the vanquisher of Trump. She will be the first woman president. You're not going to be able to get her out of the Oval Office from within the Democratic Party. They're so committed to her. So, but look, social movements are important. This is social movements. That is one of the ways that change happens in this country. There is no question about it. But it's very, very, very hard. We were talking earlier about third parties. It's very hard to organize a social movement. It's also extremely hard to organize a third party. And that's there's all of these structural obstacles that we have to overcome. Jesus Christ. I sound so negative now. But there's a big part of it is putting your finger on the problem and really understanding it. And the fact that what you were saying about the Clintons being part of the problem is a huge cognitive step. No one would have said that 8 years ago. No one would have said that 10 years ago. And now we're in this situation where that is apparent to people, and that's a big step. Look, okay, maybe I've gone through all the different stages, and now I'm at acceptance. But there's chances with Hillary. There's possibilities.
Well, wait, let me address that because we're talking with all these liberal friends on Facebook. Somebody talked about losing their friends on Facebook, their relatives, what have you. I have found that it's the comfortable people that are supporting Hillary.
Yeah.
They don't understand that
that's right.
49% of Americans are one illness, accident, or job loss away from poverty. They don't understand that 47% of Americans don't have $300 in the bank for a major car repair. So these are people that are comfortable, and they're being motivated by fear. And when we give them all these reasons, their amygdala, or whatever it is that is their fear center in their brain, takes over, and they don't listen to any of these reasons. What they say is, oh, we've got to hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any of them holding Obama's feet to the fire.
Hold whose feet?
Holding Obama's feet to the fire.
I mean,
all these liberals that are saying, oh, don't worry, we'll elect her, and then on day one we'll start,
Yeah. And they totally failed in the last 8 years. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But it's like things have just gotten worse and worse. It's like, I mean, the economy is right now in a state of robust recovery. Do you know about this? Like, all the economic indicators are looking really good. You open up your New York Times and everything is looking really good. But the way people are experiencing the economy, it's not improving. It's going in the opposite direction. And I don't know how much more of, well, we'll see. I mean, I don't want to be too negative about everything. What was I going to say about holding people's feet to the fire? They can't, look, the fact that comfortable people are fine with the Democrats, yes, that is exactly right. That's what Listen Liberal is all about. That is exactly right. And no, they don't have an organized way of holding her feet to the fire. They don't really have a way at all. I mean, they can say mean things about her on Facebook, but that's not really the same thing as a social movement. We need to organize within the Democratic Party. We need to flip districts. We need to do all, not to Republican, but to the good side of the Democratic Party.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? Because one of the biggest...
And then I got to go. I got people waiting.
The unions, okay.
Yes,
because
I'm very pro-union.
Chris Hedges, in his other book,
Yeah.
The Death of the Liberal Class, says that all the institutions have failed us. The universities, the Democratic Party, the press, and unions.
Yeah.
And Mike Curry says that unions have traded pressure for access.
You mean Bill Curry?
Bill Curry, I'm sorry. Yeah, not Mike Curry. He's the Republican. They said they were going to hold the corporate Dems that voted for TPP fast track. They said they were going to primary them. Yeah. They didn't. So what do you think about it? Oh, that's right.
No, they totally dropped the ball. But this is, the unions have a larger problem of imagination. The unions are, these are people whose heart is really in the right place. These are good people that are good on the issues and that have a lot of money and have a lot of clout, but they don't use it in the right way. These are people that could pressure Hillary. And I know a lot of these people in Washington, D.C., and like I said, their heart's in the right place. They are one group that could use its clout. I would love to see that happen, but we shall see. We shall see.
I have one question as a social history major myself.
Okay. Yeah.
You said a great point about the elites plucking, Obama and Clinton to plucking them because they
from their lives of obscurity,
right? And because they went to the greatest schools. But let me ask you a question about being aspirational. I think some of our greatest presidents have come from the upper class. FDR, JFK, because they grew up with money. They didn't desire money.
And you forgot Washington.
Yeah, I don't go back that far. I studied more modern history.
Okay, no, keep going.
But I think that it's, I don't know if you want to use the word noblesse oblige, but I feel that perhaps part of the problem with Clinton and Obama were that they were aspirational. They enjoy, Obama enjoys playing golf with Jamie Dimon. And I think, seriously, I understand, I've got good authority that they've got each other on speed dial, and they talk several times a week. I mean, that's not the kind of...
Just Google Obama Martha's Vineyard golf, and you can see who his golf partners are. But he does enjoy golf, and so did Clinton. Look, I don't know if it's aspirational, but it does have to do with the idea of meritocracy and the idea that they have been, like I said, plucked out of obscurity by dint of their genius. They have nothing to declare but their genius. And Oscar Wilde quote. Absolutely out of the blue.
Yeah.
But they believe in that system. I think it's more that is a system that treated them well, and it's a system that they think will treat everyone well. And this is not just them. You know who Tom Friedman is, the New York Times columnist? Well, so the idea that America has the greatest higher educational system and that this is the key to success for everybody in their personal lives and for us as a nation. It's very easy for them to believe that because it was that for them.
Right. But what they don't know is that the Koch brothers are taking over entire economics departments in major universities.
I know that, though. Everybody
you
knows
know
that.
that.
Yeah.
You
but
know
that's.
But these journalists
But
are failing
look, at
us
the end of the day,
also.
meritocracy and the idea of the robust sort of exchange of ideas. We know that these things don't work. They don't work, and they especially don't work if the problem you're trying to solve is inequality. These things are not ways of mitigating inequality. These are ways of rationalizing inequality.
Right.
That's the critical thing. It's exactly the wrong ideology to be emphasizing right now.
Well, Bernie didn't talk about this, but I think one of the big.
I gotta go. My friends are out there.
All right, I'm going to go, and I'm going to opine without you. Because I was going to talk about
Okay,
monopolization and consolidation.
Yeah. Oh, like
all the industries.
yeah.
We've got 5 industries in big
Hey, can I just say one last thing, and then I got to go?
Yeah.
So antitrust. So people, you're gonna start seeing all these articles about Obama's legacy, and don't forget your purse, by the way.
Right.
But Obama's legacy, and everybody's, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't do the good stuff. The Republicans kept stopping him. Well, one field where he was totally free to act the whole time, even after the Republicans took Congress, was antitrust. The laws were passed in the 19th century. It's just up to him to enforce them.
Right.
And he chose not to. By some measurements, he has one of the worst record on antitrust of any president.
Right.
And it's especially alarming when you think. Do you remember how he won Iowa over Hillary in 2008?
Yeah.
By promising antitrust action against agricultural monopolists. It never happened. It's totally within his power. He just didn't do it.
Right.
Ask yourself. That is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is something that we really need in this country. If you want to, now the vending machines want us out of here. If you want to do something about inequality, some of the tools, I mean, not all the tools are available to us, but that one is, and that's a big one. That's a big hammer.
Yeah.
Use it.
Next time if I see you, I'll tell you how Eric Holder called me sweetheart at the DNC.
Did he really?
Yeah, when I said to him, seeing as all these banks have paid these huge fines and yet no criminal charges were pressed, don't you think the optics of the fact that you've gone back to Covington and Burley look bad?
And what did he say?
He said, well, first of all, I said, well, you're representing banks? And he says, well, first of all, sweetheart, I don't represent banks. And second of all, don't you think that if a Justice Department lawyer could make a case against, these banks, it would be a career-making move for them?
Yeah. You think so?
But
I mean, that's what I was saying all along.
But that Bill Black, who I think you were referring to earlier, I think he's my hero too. I think he made the case that that's not exactly what's going on. But anyway, enjoy your dinner.
All right.
And I'll talk to my my live stream people now, and I'll share this widely.
Okay.
All right. Bye. Okay, so that was Thomas Frank, folks. He gave me a few minutes after his talk here in Hollywood. His book is called Listen Liberals, Whatever Happened to the Party of the Working People. If you go to my wall, you'll see that I posted the entire talk that he gave. I'm going to be writing an article on it for the LA Progressive. But some of the highlights are, I think that he's saying, he's a historian, and he's been studying, the administration since Clinton on. Well, he's been studying more administrations than that, but what he's writing about what happened under Clinton was that the Democratic Party stopped representing working people and started representing the meritocracy. And the meritocracy was based on which schools you went to and which degrees you got. And, he said things like people were, in some of the speeches, he's been reading the WikiLeaks, that I don't remember if it was Clinton or Obama, they were talking about how these financial derivatives were so innovative, and these are wonderful and they're game changers. And, he talked about how much influence Eric Schmidt, this is some things that I learned, Eric Schmidt from Google was seen at Hillary Clinton's speeches abroad when she was Secretary of State. And one of the things that she sold, besides fracking, he didn't mention that, one of the things she sold to the world was internet freedom, which was basically making it a right for people to get their internet services from companies such as, Google, and, also talking about Amazon and how Silicon Valley, he said, that Wall Street probably won't have as much of an influence in the Clinton administration, at least overtly, in terms of the appointments, because they're so toxic now. But he says, look to see Silicon Valley having more of an influence. And it was just a great talk. I really encourage you to watch it. What else can I say? Monopolization. Yeah, I wanted to get into with him a little bit about monopolization and consolidation, because we really have like 5 companies running each field, whether it's agriculture, whether it's media, whether it's transportation, airlines. And when you have monopolization and consolidation, you don't have any choices for your workers. Like right now we're talking about AT&T merging with Time Warner. Well, already AT&T bought DirecTV, and if they buy Time Warner, then we're going to have no choice of a cable or internet provider right now in Los Angeles. So if you think your service is crappy, if you think your customer service is crappy, if you think your prices are high, just wait till this merger goes through. And like Thomas Frank just said, we have laws on the books to do something about this. So you need to seek out who is fighting this merger. I would venture to say it's Free Press. They're a great organization, and I would go to their page, freepress.org, and see how you can get involved in the fight to stop this merger. There's a lot of things to talk about, but somebody is waiting actually for me to go out to dinner. So I hope you enjoyed these few minutes with Thomas Frank, and I hope you check out his lecture and buy his book, because he's a great thought leader in our country and one of the few who are still on the side of we the people. So have a good evening, happy Halloween, and I'll see you next time.